Oh, I got this great minister of music I'm thinking about hiring. Man, he plays a piano like Rubinstein. He sings like Pavarotti, you know. I mean, he can just about walk on water. Yeah, but at the last church, he told the other staff members, you do your thing, I'm going to do mine. Don't bother me. You know, you may have an ego problem. Look for behavior selection because skills can be trained. Obviously, you don't want someone with, no skills at all. Somebody that's tone deaf would not make a good minister of music. But I would focus on behavior selection. Take questions like, is motivated, pays attention to detail, completes assignments on time, responsible, well organized. There are specific questions you need to stay away from. Don't touch these areas. They'll get you in trouble. One is age discrimination issues. Do not ask questions about someone's birth date, how old they are, when they graduated from high school or college, the date of their marriage. Stay away from those, because you could be accused of age discrimination. Title VI child care questions. Do not ask a female what you would not ask a male. Oh, you and your husband plan on starting a family before very long. You got kids in daycare. Those kinds of things. Stay away from.
We just handled a situation where someone asked the question, I understand, look like you're pregnant. They lost the job because they asked the question just last week. So there's more to it than what I'm saying. There's a whole lot more involved in that, but that's the basic issue. That's pretty severe.
You've got to be careful with these issues. Disabilities is another area you've got to be careful of, because if it's something that is required to do the job, if you've got an individual who does not have the physical capability of carrying out the job, you have to lift 50-pound boxes all day long, let's say. Some people may have severe back trouble and can't do that. If it's a legitimate issue of the job duties, that's one thing. Otherwise, you cannot talk about and ask about noticeable physical characteristics, past health, or workers' comp claims in the past. Those kinds of things can get you in trouble. Yes, ma'am.
I think you should point out, though, once you make an offer, after the offer, you can require a physical examination.
Yes.
After you make an offer.
It's like a drug screening, for example. Those are perfectly legitimate, as is any kind of physical exam you want to have made afterwards. But in the process of making your hiring selection, simply cautioning you that these issues have been addressed in the laws, and you have to be careful how you handle them, because you can get yourself in trouble. You can be accused of discriminating against people in these categories if you're not careful.
So if you make an offer and you require a physical, do you make a disclaimer that pending the outcome of this, that offer can be withdrawn?
Yeah.
Sure.
Contingent on their ability to perform the functions of the job. And you send a job description with them to the examining doctor.
Okay. Let's hurry along here. Two other things you need to be careful of too. Most states that I'm familiar with, employment is what they call at will, simply meaning that either the employer or the employee can terminate the relationship at any time with or without cause. Your employer can simply come in and say, thanks for working with us, here's your last paycheck, and see you out the door. And that's the way it is, I think, in most states. It is down in Tennessee and Georgia. I'm not sure about Indiana, but it's that way in most states. Okay? Either the employer or employee can terminate the relationship at any time without cause. What you can do inadvertently is create what's called a just cause contract. By the way, can you create a verbal contract? Yes, you can. Is it enforceable? Absolutely, it's enforceable. Now, you may have a little more difficulty proving the content of that contract, but if you can, a verbal contract is as much enforceable as one in writing. And you can create a employment contract by some things you say if you're not very careful. What are some of those things? You've got a job here as long as you perform your duties well. You've hired a guy in perpetuity until you can, through the proper processes, prove that he is failing to meet standards, and you've given him opportunity to correct those failures. We've never let somebody go without good reason. Another comment looks very innocent, but it could get you in trouble if you're not careful.
Here's another important one too for churches is if you're working for a secular employer, they talk about religious discrimination. We cannot discriminate based on these factors, including religion. But if you're a church, you do have a right to ask a prospective employee, are you a member of the Church of God? Do you believe in our tenets? And if you have two prospective employees and one's some denomination other than Church of God and another one is Church of God, you can discriminate based on the one that's Church of God.
Thank you, Dan. So glad you brought that up. Talk very quickly about compensation issues. Accountable versus non-accountable expense reimbursement. I was working with one state office here about a year and a half ago and noticed that they were doing things like buying new tires for the evangelism director's automobile and taking it and getting his car tuned up and things like that. That can create real problems because that's what's called a non-accountable reimbursement, and that is taxable income according to IRS. An accountable reimbursement plan is where somebody incurs an expense carrying out their duties, and they account for that expense. They turn in a report of some type, turn in receipts, and say, here's what it cost me. The easiest way to handle the example I just cited is to simply put those people onto a mileage reimbursement plan. IRS will allow you right now, I think it's 48.5 cents a mile. You fill out an expense report when you get back. Tell me when you went, the purpose of the trip, who you met with, how many miles you drove, and we'll reimburse you at 48.5 cents a mile, or whatever number you decide upon. And that solves your problem. Cell phones are an issue. The IRS has said that a cell phone is a non-accountable reimbursement if the church provides that cell phone unless you keep a log of every phone call you make and the purpose for which you made it. It's got to be business related. It's got to be related to your job, to your ministry. Now that, in my humble estimation, is a pain in the neck. And most people opt for saying, put the 50, 75 bucks a month on my W-2. It's just not worth it. Now you still, if you want to, even if they put it on your W-2, if you want to go to the trouble and itemize all those phone calls, you can do it, but it's a real pain. Yes?
So we currently supply a cell phone that's on our account, but we set a dollar limit that if they spend above that dollar limit, they're responsible for that amount. Is that okay?
I see that as less of a problem. If the church provides the phone and say, here, you need this to carry out your duties that we're going to expect you to do here at the church, and it's our phone, we're paying the bill for it, that's a little different than reimbursing for a phone. Okay? Comments over here? Yes?
We get a bill with every phone call on it.
Mm-hmm.
So can that be used for that?
The IRS is, if you handed it to them, they're going to say, tell me why you made each of these phone calls. Demonstrate to me that they were all related to my work in ministry. You can't just say, here's all the phone calls I made. That's the big problem, in my view. Yes?
Could you go back and clarify your answer to Elvis on the cell phone? This is a church purchase package
Yes.
with a limit on it. Is that correct?
No, we supply our youth pastor, my wife, myself, the cell phones. For my youth pastor, we